how old were you when you became serious about skateboarding?
I was probably about 6, 7 years old when I first got really hooked. My dad made me a homemade skateboard. The urethane wheel just came out in '73.
Cadillacs?
Cadillac wheels.
How many remember Cadillac wheels?
And
How many remember Road Riders? How many remember Bennett trucks?
well, it definitely went from clay wheels to urethane wheels.
Yeah.
And it was like God invented the wheel, for skateboarding, because all of a sudden skateboarding was so much more accessible to anywhere. You could ride on rough ground, and I was bombing the hills in front of my house in Hawaii, and I just remember getting the speed wobbles and making it and just going, I'm hooked. Because surfing really was why I started skateboarding. My father was a surfer, and so when I got on a skateboard, it was just like I was surfing on the land. And so I got that feeling, I got that rush, and ever since then I've been doing it, basically every day.
And so when you moved to California, where was the first skate park that you started skating?
I started skateboarding in Torrance was the first skate park. Me and him talked about it on the way down here today, but it was Marina Del Rey Skate Park in 1978, which was my home park, which my dad ended up managing because I wanted to skate not just on the weekends, but I wanted to skate every single day. And back then it cost a lot of money to skate at a skate park, and he's like, look, you want to skate all the time, I'll just work here and then you can skate for free. And so that's basically how it became kind of like my backyard, and then that's how my career really began.
How old were you then?
I was 10 years old.
Wow. Now that is the commitment of a father to a son. Son, I love you so much, I'm going to go work where you want to play.
Yeah, I ended up being top amateur in the nation at 12, turned pro at 14, and so everything happened really fast during that time. And it was definitely because of the support of my father.
Now, when you're 14 years old and you turn pro, what was the first time you skated?
I skated with guys like Tony Alva, Jay Adams, these are legends and pioneers of skateboarding, which went to backyard pools, first aerials, and
Did you ever skate for Dogtown?
I did skate for Dogtown.
Do you remember Froggy?
Yeah.
Me and Froggy used to skate together.
Oh yeah.
When we competed together at Torrance.
Yeah, we need to, I've been training with Froggy. Froggy has a substance abuse down in Venice, but his son skateboards. He's a great skateboarder. He's struggling with it, but he doesn't want to go as deep as his father, but we have to keep him in prayer, because I've prayed with him. He's received Christ in this past couple of years, and so bringing his name up, isn't that great? Think about that.
So
That's awesome.
the first team that you skated for, I don't know if you mentioned the first team?
It was Heatflex. I was friends with Jay Adams. Jay Adams was just like the guy at the time, and I was like, man, I want to hang out with this guy. And sure enough, I was hanging out with him every day, and then he's like, you need to come down to Z and pick up all the stuff. I got Z-rails, Z-wheels, Z-bearings, Z-board. I mean, everything they had except for trucks. But
skateboards?
I was Z'd out, and I was 10 years old. I mean, think about that. A little kid, 10 years old. I could barely skate in the little bowls yet, let alone the big bowls yet. And I was already just getting flowed by pretty much the best skater in the world in my eyes, at the time.
So what would you say to someone who's here, I don't know, maybe they're 9, 10, 11 years old? What would you say to them to inspire them, for them to go to the next level?
Well, it's all about passion. It's all about commitment. It's all about perseverance. It's not quitting, never giving up. Those are the things you learn through not just success. You learn them in your failure. You learn them when you're falling down. That's why I don't regret, when things went wrong in my life. I turned the negative into a positive. And because of that, other people see the hope. They see that there's a chance for them. If I can do it, if I can come out of something that is so bad, they can too. And so those are the things that I always say to young people who want to get started. I said, have a passion for it. Respect what you do. Love what you do. And if you love it, you'll continue to do it. You'll protect it. You'll carry that reputation of it. And you'll want to tell people about it. And you want to save it. You know what I mean? It's something that you have to have a passion about. to continue doing it, because there's going to be walls in front of you. When we were skateboarding, it was like there was all these obstacles. People telling us we were like criminals and rebels, and we were, and we were claiming that. But at the same time, we wanted to be professional skateboarders, and so there was this bridge that had to be gapped, that we had to like go from one extreme to a professional career, and we did that. No one was going to tell us no, because we were committed to that. And that's how you need to be about anything. And I think if you're going to be anything, it doesn't matter if you're a skateboarder, if it's you wanting to be a successful person, you have to have that attitude. You have to have that commitment in life. Or else, you know what? You're gonna struggle. You're gonna be dealing with being a father, a husband, a mother, a wife, and those things. You think being a pro skateboarder is a lot of pressure? Try those things. And see how much you have to really not give up or give in. And I always encourage young people like that.
Wonderful. Isn't that great? Isn't it wonderful? Let me ask you this question. You're 14, you turn pro. And then all of a sudden, it's as if though you go from here to here. And you're now fast forward with me, you're 20 years old. And you're at the top of the top. You have everything that a 20-year-old would want. Give us just a brief synopsis of what your life is like at 20.
Well, at 20 years old, I had pretty much everything the world had to offer.
Where were you living?
I was living in W.C. Fields' estate, like up in Hollywood. I had a ramp. I was right off of Sunset Boulevard.
You were renting his house?
I rented the property where his house was back in the 20s or whenever his career was, but it was his estate, and I rented it. I put a ramp there. It had a private brick driveway. It was pretty, it was immaculate, to be sitting there, a skateboarder who came from having nothing to making it himself, to now my father's even living with me. I had, my girlfriend at the house. All my friends would come up there. We'd skate, and it was just like this. It was like this, almost like I made it type of feeling,
Well, you did make it.
You're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You're traveling around the world, and you think you're the guy, You think, oh man, you want to be me, It's like I'm it, and in it there was this emptiness that only I could tell you because I was there. It didn't matter how much I had, or how much, awards, or how many covers, or how many girls, or how many clubs, or how many times I traveled around the world. There was always this void in my heart and in my life, and I had to continue to reproduce that feeling over and over. And if I wasn't the guy to be on the next cover or to get that picture in the magazine, I was like, man, what's going on? What's going on? My identity is slipping. And it doesn't matter if you're like the #1 skateboarder in the world. It could be anywhere. It could be you in your neighborhood. It could be you and your family. It could be you at your school or on your job, and you just feel like you're not the guy. But it was empty. There was something missing. And I always tell everybody, I was searching for love and acceptance and identity. But I was searching for it in all the wrong places, because here I was trying to find it in money, fame, girls, friends, just being popular, what else is there in the world? I was like, there's nothing left. And finally I was like, you know what, if that doesn't make me happy, I'm just going to start using drugs, and I'm going to get crazy, and I'm going to go down a dark path. And I tried that, and that didn't fulfill me. That didn't satisfy me. I thought I'd get artistic and creative with my, a drug addiction, and that just led me down a spiral. I just kept going down and down and down, until finally I landed myself in prison.
And what prison did you in?
I went to a few different ones. I was in prison for about 5 years, but when I got there, it was in Hawaii. I got arrested. And they're telling me I'm looking at 10 years. And when they're telling you you're looking at 10 years, you're like, yeah, right. But I went inside, and the inmates were telling me, yeah, you're looking at 10 years, Christian. And I was like, you're kidding me. Think about this. All that that mattered didn't matter anymore. All I could think about was, why me? What happened to my life? How did I get this far? I had everything on a silver platter. I could go anywhere I want. I could pay every bill that I could share my money with all my friends. I could feel like I'm the king, but yet there was something missing. And finally I got into that prison cell. And get this, my name's Christian. My nickname is Christ, right? In 85, cover of Thrasher magazine. I invented a maneuver called the Christ era. In the late 80s, it's now January of 2000, I'm in a prison cell, and I'm sitting there, I get my first phone call, I call my girlfriend, and get this, I went to church for the very first time in my whole life, 3 months before I got arrested. Just because my girl said, you know what, I'm quitting drugs and I'm going to church, and I went, I'll go with you. I went with her, did drugs all the way there, did drugs all the way home, got her back into using drugs, went to Hawaii, brought her with me. I ended up getting arrested, and now I'm calling her. And she's sitting there going, you know what, babe? I said, I don't know if I'm going to make it 10 years. She's like, I love you. You just got to trust in God. And I was like, God? I said, babe, I need a lawyer. I need an attorney. You know what I mean? I'm not dying. I was like, I'm not dying. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, babe, you know, God's going to help us. God's going to get us through it. And immediately, it was like all heaven confronted me at that moment. And I was just like, what is going on? And with the pressure of 10 years and just sitting there on that phone call, and now it's my first day in prison, and her going, now go get a Bible. And I went, go get a Bible? I've never read a Bible my whole entire life. I've been in a million hotel rooms. I've seen a million Bibles. Never opened it one time in my whole life. Think about this. Now she's telling me to go get a Bible, and at that moment I went, oh my goodness. I better go look for a Bible. Went and looked for a Bible that night, grabbed it, went in. Actually, it was an inmate because I was looking at the rack, and it was just empty. There was no Bibles in there. So I was like sitting there, and he's like, what are you looking for? I go, a Bible. He goes, you can use mine. And I was like, all right, you sure you don't need it? He's like, no, you can use it. I got it. There's all these Post-its in there. There's all these lines, underlines, and color things. And I'm like, he already did like 5 years. He was going to do his like next 5-year state bid after he did his Fed bid. So he's been in there for a while. And he was like a guy with gray hair, kind of like mine right now. And I was sitting there in my room, and all I can remember is like, God, if you're real, you need to help me. God, if you're real. And at that moment, I just opened up the Bible, and it was I looked at it, and I was like, Genesis, and it was like Star Trek movie. I was like, what is this? And then I went to the back, and it's Revelation. I had no revelation. I went to the middle, it's all Psalms. I was like, what's Psalms? What's Proverbs? I'm like, this book is crazy. And then I got to Kings, and I went, Kings. I said, King. Now, I get this. I started in Kings, and it was like the light bulb went on. It was like the scales fell off my eyes, and I realized that God created me, that I wasn't here by accident, that God had a plan for my life, and that I knew because of the decisions that I made in my life got me to where I was at, and by the decisions that I was going to make was going to take me where I wanted to go, right? And I was sitting there in that cell saying, God, I'll do this, I'll do that. How many of you said that? Sitting there in a rock bottom situation. Okay, God, get me out of this one. And I sat there and God, get me out, get me bail. I was like, get me bail, get me bail. I'll do anything. I'll tell my, I'll get people off drugs. I won't use drugs anymore. And I meant it, right? And I got in there, they're like,